The title race is about to get interesting as Arsenal approach their biggest game of the season. Arne Slot's Liverpool are coming to the Emirates Stadium. So today we'll get all the breaking team news ahead of the game, analyse what's changed at Liverpool alongside a very special guest, reveal a new plan regarding the Emirates Stadium, and find out what's happening in terms of a new forward. Yo, what is going on guys? My name is Baz14, welcome back to your boys channel, and a massive game is looming this Sunday. It is must win, it is a title clash. So as per, smash a like on the video if you enjoy and subscribe to the channel if you are new. But starting off with the breaking Arsenal news. Having joined in July 2022, under 18 coach Jack Wilshere has done a lot of things for Arsenal behind the scenes, leading his side to an FA Youth Cup final in his first ever season. When we talk about Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly, Jack Wilshere has been a major part of their development, giving them the confidence and experience having come through hell and himself. A former Arsenal hero turning into an Arsenal coach, his time has been very successful. But that time is over as confirmed by Sky Sports. Wilshere is set to join Norwich City in an exciting role as a first team coach, after spending 2 years coaching the Arsenal youth sides. No, he's not becoming the new Norwich manager, he's just a part of their first team coaching staff. But going from the youth academies into professional football is always going to be an upgrade. In a league like the Championship that is so competitive, Arsenal say thank you for everything, Jack. Everyone at the club wishes him the very best as his journey in coaching continues. As Super Jack says himself, this club will always be close to my heart, and for me, this is a see you again rather than a goodbye. No matter how you see this, losing a coach with so much first team experience having come through the Arsenal academy, you can't imagine the effect that he was having on the academy players. Seeing one of the best examples of a player coming through Hill End, Wilshere knows the journey better than anyone. There's no denying this is going to be a major loss for Arsenal. And according to David Ornstein, sources close to the family of 14-year-old Max Dowman, one of the academy's brightest prospects, suggest they are extremely disappointed by Wilshere's departure. Wilshere had become a highly important figure to Dowman, with some close to the academy expressing concerns that Arsenal had not made more effort to keep Wilshere. Per Saka respected Wilshere's decision to leave. However, there are some who feel he could have been persuaded to stay if a compelling offer had been made. We have to respect it though, going from an academy coach to a first team coach is always going to be a no-brainer. Of course Dowman's going to be upset. When you've got a former Hill Ender seen as an Arsenal cult hero, an example of someone who's made it all the way through, the inspiration was always going to be there, but the Arsenal Academy keeps moving, as they're delighted to announce that Adam Birchall has become the new under-18 head coach, another former Arsenal Hill Ender that came through in 2003. Keeping it in-house is a major strategy for Arsenal because of the importance of familiarity, with the quality of his youngsters coming through. Having someone who's been there and done it is always going to be so important, with Birchall going from under-17 head coach to under-18s. But there's also more stuff happening behind the scenes. As confirmed by David Ornstein, former Arsenal executive James King is set to return to the club as Director of Football Operations. Having left the club in May 2022 to join the PFA, he is now set to go back to take up a position previously occupied by Richard Garlick. With the departure of Vinay at the end of last year, Richard Garlick was promoted into his role. That opened up a space for Arsenal, and that's why they've gone to a former man again. And as Ornstein confirms, King will play a key role in contracts and legal work. But now that he's Arsenal's managing director, James King is going to have a major part to play in the next few years. Despite the likes of Saliba and Saka signing new contracts, as Arsenal approach an important part of their project, the time to go and win trophies, pressure will be getting higher and higher, and likewise wages. But talking of improving and taking the next step up, let's talk about the Emirates Stadium. Built back in 2006, a 60,000 seater capacity, seen as one of the best stadiums in the world and a step in the right direction. But since then you've got the arrival of Wembley and a new ground for Spurs. The breaking report comes from Gary Jacobs, saying that Arsenal have started to explore how they could upgrade and expand the Emirates Stadium to try to catch up with rivals on matchday income, with huge ticket demands and corporate needs among the motives. With tickets more in demand than ever before, with a brand new ballot system implemented at the start of last season, it has had a major impact on the Arsenal atmosphere. With only certain fans winning ballots on certain occasions, there's not that sense of unity around the Emirates that we had in 2022-23. I get it, Arsenal fans want to go to the Emirates Stadium, your boy gets messages about it all the time, but it's also a sense that Arsenal could be getting left behind. You look at Spurs' brand new ground and all the major events that are happening in London. All the boxing fights going to Spurs over Arsenal, likewise in terms of concerts. You then have Euro 2028 around the corner, where in terms of the stadiums in London, you won't have the Emirates, instead you're going to have Spurs' ground in Wembley. The Cronkies will be aware of that and they will want to upgrade as soon as possible. making sure that Arsenal are always on top and always trying to improve. You look at another team they own in the LA Rams and the SoFi Stadium, costing a whopping $5.5 billion. The most expensive stadium ever. Having been there, you can see exactly what the Cronkies are about, creating a world-class facility for fans across the world. Even the impact of Mikel Arteta is evident, from all the renovations around the Emirates Stadium to also the improvement of the training ground. The idea of further investment is definitely very exciting. Let's talk about Raheem Sterling though, because according to Charles Watt in a recent report, Arsenal could decline the chance to sign Sterling on a permanent basis, with Mikel Arteta now considering other targets. 4 games as an Arsenal player in the league, already making 2 starts. I think these questions are a bit premature. Sterling has not been blockbuster, but what did we expect? A last-minute signing that was seen as an opportunity. He was never a long-term target for Mikel Arteta. I fully believe that going into the future, if Arsenal can sign the likes of Nico Williams or other key targets, they're going to go for them instead. But at the same time, I'm not going to go over the top either. Sterling was always coming in as a squad player, not as a game changer. And I still see him as an upgrade on Reece Nelson. Yes, he was rated highly by Arsenal fans, but even for Fulham, he's yet to make a single league start. With 2 starts in 4 league games for Arsenal, that's already more league starts Nelson had at Arsenal in his last 3 years combined. But for an Arsenal side that has now missed 20 of the 29 big chances in the Premier League this season, the talk around the Emirates is all about a brand new striker. According to reports in Colombia, Arsenal have reportedly registered interest in signing Aston Villa striker John Duran this winter. With 7 goals in 12 appearances of Villa this season, despite not making a single league start, Duran has been on fire, with a standout moment in the Champions League against Bayern and another goal against Bologna. At only 20 years of age, there's a lot of potential there, but also a major price tag. Having recently signed a brand new deal at the start of this season, according to reports, the cost could be at least £75 million. Now, for a player that's fighting for Ollie Watkins and not a guaranteed starter at Aston Villa, even after scoring against Bologna, he was seen unhappy going off the pitch. At Arsenal, he wouldn't be a guaranteed starter, but the question is, do you pay £75 million for a player that won't improve your first team straight away? Duran is definitely a sharpshooter, and in terms of inside the box, there's a lot of potential. But when we're talking price tags at that level, signing him from a Premier League side that has just given him a brand new contract, Arsenal would definitely have other targets in mind as well. One, of course, being the on-fire Victor Gyokeres. After a standout first year of Sporting Lisbon, the form has continued this year, having now scored 17 goals in his last 16 appearances for club and country. He's also got 2 goals in the Champions League, proving that he can do it at the highest level. But when looking at the strikers that are coming out of Portugal in the past few years, we're talking mainly the likes of Darwin Núñez. With a reported release cost of around €100 million, that's what Arsenal might need to pay. But when you look at his recent performance in the Champions League, an 8.4 rating against Sturm Graz, with 1 goal and 1 assist, 2 shots on target and 3 off targets, 18 accurate passes, 3 key passes and 1 big chance created. It's the element of chaos alongside creativity that stands out so much. Numbers that you simply cannot deny, and that's why he's always going to get linked to Arsenal. But in terms of former Arsenal legend Freddie Ljungberg, he's actually eyeing up a different striker, his fellow countryman Alexander Isak. As Freddie says, he has super top qualities that as a coach, I would look for. He could go to the absolute top. Newcastle is a good club, but I hope he can eventually move to a giant like Arsenal, Chelsea or City, where he can pour in the goals. Isak is the player that a lot of Arsenal fans dream about the most, mainly because of his style of play. 6'3" with a lot of pace and a deadly finish, often compared to another 14 in Thierry Henry. The key for Arsenal is going to be contract negotiations. Currently out of contract in 2028, Newcastle have been trying to extend that, but as reports in the UK confirm, talks between Newcastle and Isak have ceased despite the early discussions. News that could put Arsenal on red alert, as Arsenal would likely be in a position to commit a British record sum fee on a player like Isak. Having not signed that blockbuster striker in the summer, ended the year actually in a profit, there's no denying that Arsenal have a lot of money to spend, and as we've seen in the past with Declan Rice, they're not scared to spend £100 million on a player. But the key criteria for a new forward is going to be, can he offer Arsenal something that they don't already have? A difference maker not just in the Premier League but also in the Champions League, that can provide moments to take Arsenal over the line. Moving on to Arsenal versus Liverpool. In a game seen as Arsenal's biggest so far this season, the stakes are online because this is a title clash. Liverpool first and Arsenal third, with a 4-point difference as things stands. Under brand new manager Arne Slot, Liverpool have been on fire, with 11 wins of 12 so far this season. When Mikel Arteta was asked before the game if you were to lose this game then, he was quick to interrupt saying, "What if we win this game?" Making no excuses whatsoever, Mikel has been very bold going into this game, saying, "Believe me, on Sunday versus Liverpool we will be flying, trust me on that." It's going to be very important for Arsenal to have their key players available, so let's get the breaking team news. In terms of Calafiori having been taken off against Shakhtar, there was a lot of concerns about a potential season-ending injury. According to reports in Italy, it's actually only a slight problem with his MCL, with the injury not being serious. He'll be out for no more than only a few weeks. With there being a slight problem, we're talking only a grade 1 injury, which potentially means a 1 to 2 week timeline of recovery, which of course is a major boost, but if he's not available for this game, Mikel Arteta has got a bit of a dilemma. With Alexander Zinchenko back fit and available and on the bench against Shakhtar, with a fully fit Kiwior also available, the fact that he turned to Miles Lewis-Kelly instead was very interesting. A 17-year-old that's so commanding on the ball and so confident, with 100% of his passes completing above the Champions League and Premier League this season. When we're talking about bravery, not only was Mikel Arteta brave enough to play him, but it was Miles on the ball as well, demanding it and trying to make things happen, taking it between the lines. But when you're up against Mo Salah, an all-time Premier League great, having caused Arsenal so much pain over the years, is Mikel Arteta ballsy enough to start a 17-year-old and give him his first ever Premier League start? But what about Yuri Timber and Bukayo Saka? According to Sammy Mockbell, Saka is still not out for the Liverpool game and hoping to prove his fitness bar any late setbacks, with also set to take a late call on Timber as well. As Charles Watt confirms, Arsenal maintain hope that both Saka and Timber will be available against Liverpool, with the club giving Saka as much time as possible to prove his fitness. But then came out this video of trading, with none of Saka, Calafiori and Timber to be seen. The Arsenal detectives were out in full flow, spotting this photo here, where blurred in the background you can see Yuri and Timber, clearly wearing silver and orange boots, contrary to some fans believing it's actually not Gabriel Jesus, as he was only wearing orange boots. As Mikel Arteta says himself, today was Timber's first session that he could have had some involvement. He'd been out for a while. We expected him to be closer from where he is at the moment, but again we will have to wait and see. It's the fact that Mikel has been so secretive and so quiet, limiting any sort of updates and trying to keep his card close to his chest. Timber's availability could be game changing, from playing as a right back and allowing Ben White to move centrally, or going to the left hand side to lock off Mo Salah. In his recent press conference, Mikel Arteta refused to rule out all of Saka, Timber and Calafiori, saying we are going to do our very best to somehow have them available, but obviously it's very uncertain. In the case of Saka, as confirmed by the reliable Sam C already, Bukayo is expected to be available for the upcoming match. Having trained pending any last minute changes or niggles, he will be there. For an Arsenal side that has been very lacklustre in the past few games and a lot of questions about creativity, I get why fans have wanted Ethan Nwaneri, but the reality is, with no Martin Odegaard hurting us in the first place, Saka becomes that much more important. Having led all of Europe with already 7 assists in the Premier League this season, his numbers were at a world-class creativity level. You then talk about Mikel Arteta's game plan in massive games like this, keeping them as tight as possible and trying to make the most of the fine margins. Saka may be available to start, but the question is he going to be at his best? One player that won't be involved though, unfortunately, is William Saliba, with Arsenal choosing not to appeal the red card. According to Sammy Mockbell, Arsenal actually compiled a video package to support a possible appeal against Saliba's red card, and it was understood the Arsenal analysis put together a video montage of similar decisions that were not deemed red card offences in preparation of an anticipated appeal against sending off. Eventually, however, the club decided against submitting an official appeal, as sources claim appealing Saliba's red card was never a realistic consideration for Arsenal given the likelihood of it failing. The appeal wasn't made and we're going to have to do without him. For a player that in the side Arsenal have a 74% win rate, without Saliba it drops all the way down to 45%. But defence has always been a key strength for Mikel Arteta, and it's going to be the same case in this game here. Having now kept clean sheets in 3 consecutive Champions League games for the first time since November 2007 under Arsene Wenger, the Gunners have now conceded just 1 goal in the last 6 group stage and league phase matches. But let's talk about the opponents Liverpool, and not just with your boy, but with a very special guest in Lawrence McKenna. Right, we're joined with the legend himself, Lawrence, a Liverpool fan of course, ahead of a massive game. Lawrence, chat to me, man. What's changed with Arne Slot at the helm?
Different form of pressing. The players look a lot calmer. Players seem to be able to manage different game states in a slightly more accomplished way, I want to say. Obviously, also a few of the personnel has changed. I don't think you'd have seen Ryan Gravenberch most probably in this fixture last year.
Would you reckon with your style of play this year, maybe being a bit more methodical, is it more sustainable?
So here's the thing. I think that week to week, we see a very small amount of the actual fitness and physical work that the players do. I don't know how intense Klopp is being in training. I don't know how intense Pep Linders was in training. A lot of the time, there was a mental rigor that seemed to be really weighing on the players. There are a couple of guys in that squad who I really don't think were looking forward to the end of the Klopp era. In terms of fitness, I do think Slot is, he's famous for that, right? He's famous for the management of players, the management of their loads. If I was to give you an estimate, I'd say so far I've seen the players roughly walking off the pitch looking not as exhausted as they did under Klopp.
In terms of, your biggest strength this season, so you look at Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, you can tell straight away the counter-attacking threat on transition, but also off the ball, pressing, chasing you down. Under Slot, what would you say right now has been your biggest strength this season?
For want of a better word, like game state management, this team has become a lot better at just realising and identifying what the thing is they have to do at that specific moment, like slow the game down or speed the game up up, working out the opposition, picking them apart a little bit. I've likened it to like a boxer in an actual boxing fight, I guess. And they slowly jab at the opposition, and then they're like, oh, I can see what your rhythm is now. Like, I can pick at that rhythm. There's a weakness on this side. Okay, I'll keep coming down the left, or I'll keep coming down the right. And it means that people say stupid things after the game, like, oh, I thought Salah had a quiet game today. And you're like, yeah, because this side went, look at their right side, it's really weak, we'll just attack that. So they've become a lot better, I think, at reading games. And then the final thing, I think, is Ibrahima Konate just finding a real vein of confidence. The confidence that these players have gained from basically going, oh, I wasn't just good because Klopp pressed. I'm good fundamentally as a player, and I can take on a new system or whatever it is.
It makes this game very intriguing because, look, our centre-back is not there, William Saliba.
Can I be honest? Like, as a Liverpool fan, and I've spoken to other Liverpool fans about this, we're annoyed. Obviously, we went through what you guys are now going through last season. We went through the incompetence at Spurs. We went through the incompetent red cards, multiple incompetent red cards that we picked up. I think from the outside, a lot of people go, well, just deal with it. Like, I saw the Gary Neville quote where he's like, we should be winning at 10 men at Bournemouth. And I was like, should you though, Gary? Like, and you got to find a way. And I'm like, yeah, you do. But sometimes you won't find a way. And sometimes it's so blatantly not right. I get it. Everyone's like, you've got to be strong and tough and those kind of things. And most of the people, by the way, who are saying you've got to be strong and tough are the kind of people who wake up 15 minutes after their alarm goes off in the morning. They're lazy in most of their life. Yeah, exactly, bro. We as Liverpool fans at the moment are unsure of where we're at. It's not that we want to get beaten by you guys. Like, no, obviously we don't. But we want to go, right, where are we actually at here? Like, we're going to play probably, from our estimation, the best team in the league this season.
We all want the best game possible. We want to win as well as fans, but we had 3 games last year. Anfield, FA Cup and Premier League. I think going into this game, how do you reckon Klopp or Slot's style versus Arteta will match up different to maybe Klopp's? Are you going to have a different approach, maybe be a bit pragmatic, or is it going to be with Liverpool, we're going to play our style and take it on to Arsenal?
No, so there's definitely been adaptations in every game from Slot in terms of shape of midfield. Like, you'll see earlier in the week, he played a lone 6 in Gravenberch. The average positions are looking very different weirdly over the last 2 games. They're looking a lot more weirdly like a 4-3-3, which Klopp played. I'll be interested to see how he rotates. I think it's probably still Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch, but it's how he deploys them that's different. Klopp was a much more willing manager to be like, cool, let's play poker. Like, what's on your cards and what's on my cards? And the gamble was always there with him. I feel there's slightly less gambling in our team now. The risks that we do take are more quantified risks. Klopp was a very go on Trent, make that pass and just see if it happens. You're not going to see that in the same way. We're a transitional side who take a lot less risks this season. I think that means that you're probably going to see a game where there's a lot of minor tactical adjustments that will only really come out when the next day some smart guy from YouTube goes, hey, this guy played for 6 and why this was a genius move from blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, cool, good.
No, listen, I think it'll be more of a chess game like we have with Pep and Arteta. But a key thing for me is going to be Bukayo Saka. There's reports that he most likely will be available. He's been the most creative player in Europe this season, obviously, in terms of stats. You've had Mo Salah at your club for a long time, so you've seen a world-class, best of the best right winger. Seeing Saka this year and the last few years, would you put Saka in towards that world-class category, or do you still think he has to earn his stripes?
I could care less whether people think Saka's world-class, in the same way as I could care less whether people think Salah's world-class. For us, he makes us world-class. And I think Saka's in that same category for you. In my estimation, I think Saka's world-class. Guess why? Because his output is world-class. Purely because he plays for Arsenal, he's had to prove himself. A lot of people wanted to be like, oh, won't be good, he'll be another washout, or whatever it is that people said about Arsenal players. I think Bukayo Saka actually weirdly goes underappreciated. And the reason he goes underappreciated is because a lot of people want to wind Arsenal fans up. If Arteta took Rashford, if Arteta took Højlund or Xerxes or any of those guys, look at what he'd do with them at Arsenal.
Look at Kai Havertz.
Bukayo is kind of your Trent in that sense. You guys are willing to give him a bit more space and he can take those risks. To be honest, he worries me the most in this game because it would basically be him versus Andy Robertson. And I think, Robertson's been a fantastic servant for the club. I guess there's a agitation and distress every time we go into a game because we're like, is he going to be able to track this guy? I guess for you guys, the real question from my perspective is, do you think you can score more than one against Liverpool? No one else has really managed to pressure Liverpool to score that many goals against us this season. I think that the real good thing for you is I don't think Jota's going to play.
Thank God.
It's probably easier for you to limit Darwin Núñez and easier for you to limit Diaz or Gakpo, whoever plays on that side.
Big game Arsenal is different to normal game Arsenal, where we're allowed to play chess, we're allowed to play whatever style of play, because in those games, fans just care about the results. Because the style of play is for the games against the smaller sides. Against Liverpool, it's about getting the win, getting the 3 points, especially after the Bournemouth result. So for me, we're going to limit all the possibilities in this game. And it works for us, you know. That's why we've not lost the big 6 games since the start of last season. And so I can't complain about it. Growing up as an Arsenal fan, you know, going through some really hard big games, 8-2 at Old Trafford, 6-0 at Stamford Bridge. At this point, a lot of Arsenal fans are willing to accept a more pragmatic style if it gets a result, especially after the last week, you know, and all the overreaction after Bournemouth. I reckon it will be a matter of limiting Liverpool, maybe a set piece, maybe a corner. Where do you see this game going then?
I'd be crazy to say that I at this point that I wasn't confident that Liverpool would score. I think it'll be 1-1 in the end, if I'm honest. And I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's a bit of a washout. It's difficult to work out how it plays out because Slot is definitely an adjusting type manager, and I know Arteta is too. I think that there'll be so many adjustments to try and negate what the other manager's trying to do that it'll basically just play out where both teams are just going through conservative phases of play back to back to back.
My feeling is we're going to go for the win, and I'm not say fairly confident, but I believe quite a lot on my side when it comes to big games. I've been given a reason not to. But that is the video there and there. A massive shout out to Lawrence for coming on your boys channel. Check out all his links down below in the description. Smash a like if you've enjoyed and follow all your boys' social medias. But that was all of your latest Arsenal news ahead of the massive game against Liverpool. It is seen as must win. I see it as must win. You know what? I have belief in this Arsenal team to get ourselves over the line. So we'll see what happens, and I'll see you next time. Take care and a bit.